am rooting for you guys like so hard. Like I know you've had all of your ups and your downs.
Yeah.
But you've only like proved that you're coming out stronger and you've come out on top.
I do have faith in Dylan and I, honestly. Like,
yeah,
I really, really do. Like,
hi everyone, thank you very much for bearing with me. I had a personal emergency, so that sort of took priority over my channel because I had to attend to something. And so thank you for your patience and thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to review obviously episode 28, and I have no choice but to review episode 29, which is the finale, even though I feel some type of way, because as far as I'm concerned, I know someone was hypercritical that I have really spoken about Dylan and Sophie this season, but they were my couple. They were the couple that I supported, and when I support someone, I go hard. So I'm sorry if you feel like I haven't concentrated on anyone else, but it seems like Dylan and Sophie have been the couple that has been focused on technically since just before Hotel Amour up until we got to episode 28. And to show that they carried the show, they're being brought back for the truth bike, which doesn't make sense to me, because if you've got your finale couples, why then would you want the people that you've dumped, the people that have been toxic? Why not bring the couples that are dumped to come and sort of put the finale couples on the truth bike and sort of hear anything that we might not have seen? That tells you that there was nothing really. Those people were just carried along for the season because the producers had their winner, which in my opinion is Eric and Kayla. I feel they wanted Hannah and Taylor to win it, but they couldn't do it. One, because Hannah and Taylor are not likable. Two, last time they dumped someone and they brought Kale back, so they couldn't do the same thing again because then the viewers would side-eye people. But if Eric and Kayla win, it's more or less the same thing. They special ordered a man for Kayla for her to win. That's the impression that I get. But anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island Australia, Season 6, Episode 28. So the islanders are asleep, and it seems that it's so spread out because a lot of people have been dumped, and you have people moving beds. You have Dylan and Sophie laying technically by the door, and it's like, what happened? Why did they run away from Hannah and company? But anyway, so you have them wake up, and Hannah receives a message, and it says, "Good morning, lovebirds. Prepare to sail away for an unforgettable day. Thanks to Katiki, you are all about to board a beautiful boat and bake your beautiful bodies while cruising the Med. Hashtag from Katiki with love. Hashtag love on the ocean waves." And so you have them sort of, I don't even know whether we can call it dancing, but you had people sort of moving their bodies on the boat, and it didn't make sense that if this is what you're going to do, why not give them a full or at least half of the episode on the boat? You know, give them, conversations. Let us see more than just people waving their bodies from side to side. I didn't quite get that. And then from that, they got another text message. Well, Em got a text message. "Islanders, welcome to Palma. You are about to break away in your couples to discover the delights of one of Europe's hottest locations, perfect for Europe's hottest 5 couples." And it's like, okay, Katiki is about to show you why this legendary Spanish hotspot is the perfect backdrop for any love story. Hashtag Katiki couples. Hashtag live the legend. It's like, okay, so you have all 5 couples, disembark the boat, and they're obviously about to break off into their couples and go on a date. And it's like, okay, what mess are we about to see now? I can't even wait. So first off, we have Sophie and Dylan branch off on their own. They're just walking through the town, and then they pass through a church, and you have the narrator go, "Oh, somebody's about to get married." And then they show Sophie and Dylan, and he goes, "Well, stranger things have happened, so you never know." They stop for gelato, and I love gelato. I think Rome is the best place to get them, but hey, to each their own. And so they're really cute. They have samples, and they buy their gelatos, and then they go off and they sit on a bench, and they're just having conversations. And one thing I like about Sophie is she's always going to ask questions. She's never going to assume she knows what's happening. She's always going to ask questions with, whoever she's in a couple with. I actually loved the questions that she asked Dylan, because she asked Dylan, do you see yourself dating me outside of this? And he said yes. And so I'm devastated with the news that came out, after episode 28, that he has since moved on and is now with Mimi. I have a lot of opinions about that. And I try not to normally peddle in gossip, but I feel like I need to say something. So I might do a review on that at some point. You have Dylan and Sophie just relaxing and talking. And personally, I feel like when they left the show, they must have had hopes of making it work. That's the impression that I get, because how relaxed and at ease they were. I have a feeling their goal was to make this thing work. But he must have spoken to either his friends, his family. Somebody else must have put in their 2 coins in, and I think this is why he ended up saying, I couldn't get over the Zayn thing, because it seemed like he had got over it and they were making progress. Sophie and Dylan are not the best of actors. Neither is Sophie someone who you say can pretend or can keep a secret. If he had been pretending at the time, it would have come out. She would have told someone, because we all know Sophie can't keep a secret to save her life. The fact that they kissed and then Sophie was like, take me to the hotel, it makes you question, was this date an afterthought? Did the producers think, oh crap, we need to send them for a date? Because it doesn't make sense that some people are having fancy date and they are just being taken, on this sort of little stroll. They buy ice creams, they go and sit by some bench, and that's their final date. That to me doesn't make sense. That really doesn't make sense. Given the fact that they carried the show, they at least deserved to have their date on the cruise, on that little boat. That's the least that they deserved, because they carried the second half of the show, so they deserved that much. They then finish their date and off they go back to the villa, but the villa's empty. Everybody else is not yet back, and it's like, I feel like they were an afterthought. Either they refused to film anymore, or they were an afterthought and the producers had to bring them back for a date with everybody else that was on the show. I don't quite get it. You have them having a conversation with Sophie said, well, when they were on the date, she said, after speaking to Dylan on their first date, she realized that that was her man. And I can buy that. I really can buy that, because you could see that Sophie was smitten the moment she saw Dylan and she spoke to Dylan. But what won her over was him saying that, he had made a promise to Mimi, so he wanted to keep up to his promise to Mimi, and he wasn't willing to sort of turn his head, and I think that sold him to her. And so she waited patiently with Indigo to see what was going to happen there, and the moment he became available, she pounced, because I think coming into the show, this is the person that she wanted. Her having saying, she's developing feelings, it was cute. Dylan's face, I think he was shocked. I think he didn't expect it to say that. I think it's something that he wasn't expecting, and this is why he was taken aback when she said it, because it was a surprise for him, and it was cute. And then for her to say she loves romantic Dylan, I feel like Dylan, over the season, we've seen different sides of him. With Alicia, he was just trying to find steady ground because Alicia was all over the place. With Mimi, she came across as though she wanted to be the center of attention. And so she wanted him to cater to her, and he wouldn't budge, he wouldn't pounce. And this is why she ended up being frustrated, because he wasn't willing to sort of cater to her needs. And so with Sophie is totally different from the two girls, in the sense that, yes, there's been a lot of problems. The issue with Zayn, yes, there's been the issue with the sort of casting video, but Sophie has always sort of put Dylan at the front of their relationship. Be it when they're sitting and whatever, she's always put him at the forefront. She's always made sure, because he said physical touch was one of his things, she's always made sure that even if they're just sitting and not saying anything, she's always got her hand on him. And so because she has sort of made him the center of attention, we've seen a more sort of loving, caring, nurturing side of him, which I think we didn't see in his other couplings. Even with Chrissy, we didn't get to see that side. And so I think with Sophie being the person that she is, there's someone in HCP, well, I'll put it down to being an HCP. You're used to catering to your patient's needs. You're used to prioritizing your patient and sort of putting them at the forefront. And I think this is what she's done with Dylan, because she really liked him. And so this is why they are where they are. And this is why I think he was sort of looking forward, and she also was looking forward to life after the villa. We will never know what happened after. You have Taylor and Hannah. They were sent for a tarot card reading. The tarot card reader said, the two of you haven't been physically intimate. And my surprise, no, No, I'm not surprised. Because at the end of the day, I mentioned this. I said the way they kiss in bed, the way they make out in bed, it's ox galore. It makes it seem like they're putting on a performance. So for the tarot card reader to call it out, it doesn't need, a magician or a tarot card reader or a mind reader or anyone to know that these people, yes, they pretend to be physically attracted to one another, but they really are not. After the tarot card reading, they had a bottle of wine. Taylor tried to he tried to be romantic. They had a sip of their wine and they tried to kiss Hannah. And Hannah wouldn't budge. She wouldn't kiss him. She kept laughing it off. And it's like, are they being forced? Have they got to the point whereby they've been brought back to film a scene because the producers feel the viewers might complain that why didn't Hannah and Taylor and, Sophie and Dylan get this special date? Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. They come back to the villa and they meet Sophie and Dylan. And so they're busy telling Sophie and Dylan that, we had an amazing date. We had a tarot card reading. And I think they were skeptical. I don't think it's something they're used to. I don't think it's something that they sort of believe in. And so they didn't seem that sort of enthusiastic about it as compared to Sophie, who really seemed excited and really wanted to know more about their date. And it was just nice to see the couples just sit and have a conversation. I'm very disappointed in the producers in the sense that they've kept the drama going until the very last minute. I don't know why we needed to see, after movie night, that should have been it. Tough Love should have been finished and we should have been moving on to sort of things calming down. But instead, they decided to make things very toxic. So we're at a point whereby we've only got one couple who have declared to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And given the fact that people have said Mercedes has been on a couple of shows, it makes you question, is he asking her to be his girlfriend because he sees something romantic, or is he doing it as a strategic move in order to win the show? I'm going to repeat, Hannah and Taylor and Sophie and Dylan were an afterthought. I'm going to stick on that because it doesn't make sense how they got the cheapest of dates, because you have Mia and Nico. They go for their date. They go for a flamenco class. So they have a dance instructor and a lady there. So I assume it's both dance instructors who teach them a sort of a dance which they really struggled. Their lack of rhythm was really sad. It was really sad to watch. And so after that, they sat down for, some bubbly, and they were talking about how they can't wait to leave the villa so that, they can go and spend time in the real world and see if they actually work. They talk about the fact that, they will do interstate traveling for a bit until things sort of settle down and they're ready to get settle down and get married and have children. And it's like, I like the forward planning, but I personally am a bit struggling to understand how these couples have made it to the finale, because there's nothing that's been standout about their storylines. And so I don't get how they slipped under the radar and were able to be pushed through. Was it because the producers wanted a sort of a couple that represent that demographic to be in the finale, or what is it? I don't understand. I know a lot of people have watched. This is why I don't care how if or not I reveal that people are in the top 3. And so I love their date. I felt it was cute. There's nothing really stand out about them, really, apart from the fact that Mia gets to boss around Nico. That's what I've noticed in this coupling, in the sense that Nico is always bossed around by his woman. And I don't know whether it's something about him that he really likes, because Hannah did the same thing. So I don't know whether he's got a thing for women that are always going to boss him around and tell him what to do, or whether it's just something that, he just does naturally. I don't understand. But hey, it is what it is. You have Mercedes and Em go on a date. They sort of walk along a waterfront and then they sit down and have this person sort of draw a caricature of the two of them. And it's like, this is what I don't get. The couples that barely contributed anything to the season are the ones that are being pampered by the producers. Is it because they're the producers' favorites? Because you'd expect that people who were dragged through the mud to be the one that are getting the dates that sort of make sense. Mercedes, I think his mask slipped a bit, because they were having a conversation and you had Em sort of saying, my family won't be surprised that I'm dating someone who's from outside of, Australia. If I tell them I'm dating a guy from Texas, that they'll say that just goes with your plan, because this is who you are. And so, she was talking about traveling the world to see each other and stuff. And Mercedes was sort of taken aback, and it's like, is this a performance for him then? Is he just here to do a job? And then once his job is finished, he packs up and he goes. Make it make sense? I didn't quite understand that bit. And so I can't wait to see what happens with him and sort of once they've left the show. I think someone said they're still dating, and I don't understand why and how, but hey, it is what it is. Final date is Eric and Kayla, and for me, this is the producers couple. I'm going to say this is the producer's couple. They had some rooftop date whereby it was set out, yeah, the food was very minimal, but still, this was more planned than anybody else's date, as far as I'm concerned. So they were having conversations. I can't believe we're in the same field and we live in the same town. And it's like, okay, and the two of you don't know one another. Okay. I remember this happened on what season was it? Was it season 5 of Love Island USA, where there was a couple that were pretending that they didn't know one another and yet they lived in the same town. They went to the same gym or something like that. And I now feel like the producers specially manufactured a man for Kayla, because they realized that bringing Hannah back was not enough to get her to win, because I think if they had their way, they would have had Hannah win, but Hannah sadly didn't do herself any favors. They talk about, living in the same town. They talk about falling, and it's like, this couple seems more physical than anything else, because within day one of getting into bed, they were already getting busy doing whatever they were doing. So for me, I haven't seen their growth as a couple. I haven't seen anything about them that makes me feel like, oh my God, this is an amazing couple. This is a genuine couple. It seems like they're more hookup buddies than anything else. It seems like, they hit it and quit it. So they will meet up, they will do it, and then they go their separate ways, and then they come back for it. So I don't know. Anyway, they come back to the villa. Everybody else is hanging around the villa. They're sort of just waiting around, I think, just waiting to be told what to do next. And you have the islanders receive a text message to gather around the fire pit, and then Mercedes is going on about, oh, I see 5 really genuine couples, and I'm sorry, but I beg to differ. I think if there's a couple that had a genuine connection, I know I'm biased, I think it's Sophie and Dylan. Because Sophie and Dylan, you could tell, were emotionally invested in their couple. They really fought for that couple to try and make it work, because they could have easily jumped ship at any time and gone with somebody else and secured themselves a place in the finale. So I feel like they were the most genuine. Nico and Mia, I think they were more strategic, just like Kayla and Eric. Same goes for Hannah and Taylor. With Mercedes and I'm not sure. They are sort of in the gray area whereby they could be genuine, they could be strategic. You can't make out heads or tails. So I'm really sad about the couples that the producers have decided to make their top 3, because it doesn't make sense to me. They should have had a top 4 and they should have left it out to the viewers to choose who they wanted. Or they should have even left it at top 5 and had the viewers vote for their couple that they wanted to win. But I feel like they damaged couples so much that they realized that by the time the show came, there was a strong possibility that the couples might have lost. So if they, for example, put Sophie and Dylan in the finale, they knew they'd done so much damage to them as a couple that there was a strong possibility that by the time the results came out, they would have split, and so it wouldn't have made sense. And I think the producers, after damaging couples, decided to look for what they felt was a sure thing to win, or what they thought they could sell to the viewers as a sure thing to win. Because personally, I don't understand these couples at all. So you have Sophie Monk, arrive, and she tells the islanders that these super fans have been voting and they've decided on who should make it to the top 3. Might as well just say the producers. I don't understand the concept of super fans, because at the end of the day, this is pre-recorded. Even the winners are pre-recorded. So are you telling me that there are people who are watching this show in advance and the producers are okay for that people to hold on to the information and spoilers about the show? No, that doesn't make sense to anyone when you look at it rationally, in the sense that you're showing people a show that has not yet been viewed by the fans, and you're keeping it for months before you air it out. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't, filmed like last week and then it's shown this week after superfans voted. There is a time span between them filming it being sort of packaged, and then it being shown to the viewers, which makes me believe that although they're genuine couples in the experiment, the majority of the participants, I feel like, are sort of plants by the producers. They're cast members, as in they're actors, and they're pretending to go along a storyline. And so I don't buy most of these couples. I think if I were to look at it this season genuinely, maybe there's 1 or 2 couples that were genuine couples. The rest were producer plans, because every time there was a couple, the producers were trying to sort of model. If one of them played up, the producers would switch them out for somebody else. And so I don't buy it. Sophie Monk reveals that, well, the first couple through to the finale are Mia and Nico. Nico, they always wanted him in the finale. The problem was Hannah was too toxic, and so Nico couldn't sort of neutralize the toxicity because she wasn't getting along with the rest of the islanders, and so they had to bring in somebody for him. And I think they felt that Chrissy wouldn't be an ideal match for him. This is why they brought in Mia. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to that. Next up is Mercedes and M. Mercedes and M. I think Mercedes was brought in for Sophie, but Sophie didn't play ball, and Sophie, I think, was a notorious bandit to the producers. I think this is why in the end they made her life miserable, in the sense that they brought her in for Indigo. She didn't like Indigo. They tried to get her to spin to go to Zayn. She didn't like Zayn. Her focus was on Dylan, and I think they didn't want her for Dylan. So when she kept going, this is why they brought in Mercedes and hoped she'd stick to Mercedes. She wouldn't budge. She wouldn't stick with Mercedes. She went back to Dylan, and so they put her through Hotel Amor, hoping she'd stick. And so I think Mercedes was always going to get to the finale, irregardless of who he was paired with. And I think when Sophie didn't want him, this is why he was switched over to M, and this is how they've made it to the finale. I feel like they're a producer couple, just like Mia and Nico. And then finally, you have Kayla and Eric, which is another producer couple. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's people that would have met in the real world and had a connection. I know someone was saying they know each other from the outside. Do I believe it is possible? But at the end of the day, I feel like they're a producer couple in the sense that they were made to sort of meet a certain demographic that the producers were hoping for. If you were to tell me that Love Island is sort of scripted, I would say the Australia one, I highly agree that it's scripted. The other two, US and sort of UK, I would question that. But this one, I feel, is highly scripted, even though they bring in some amateurs that are the likes of Sophie and Dylan that end up just giving them the toxicity that they need, especially if the main cast that they wanted to give them toxicity doesn't give it to them. Which means Sophie and Dylan and Hannah and Taylor are being dumped. Do I agree with this? No, I don't. I don't, and everyone knows I don't. Because at the end of the day, Sophie and Dylan carried the show. You can't tell me a storyline that's sort of been out there and been talked about more than Sophie and Dylan. So the audacity and the idea that any of the other four couples would have made it to the top three, I don't get it and I don't buy it. I feel this is what the producers wanted. This is why when Sophie wouldn't play ball, this is why they kept sort of messing about with her. And Dylan, I think at some point they expected him to go back to Mimi and he didn't go back to Mimi. So I am pleasantly surprised that now in the real world they say Dylan and Mimi are dating. Part of me thinks maybe clout. I might be wrong, but that's what I feel. Because at the end of the day, Dylan in the villa had plenty of opportunities to sort of go out with Mimi, but he didn't. She made passes at him so many times. The fact that she kept being very close to the girls that he was sort of exploring a connection with, so that she had insider information, and he didn't see all that, I don't get. So I'm pleasantly surprised that they're dating in the real world. I wish he and Sophie had given it a chance, but then part of me thinks this was him being spiteful, because if we remember very well, there's a time he said to Sophie, if you do something, I'm going to do it twice as bad. And so I don't know. I really am feeling some type of way about Sophie and Dylan not making it to the finale, given the fact that they provided more material as compared to everybody else. And also after having found out that it could be Kayla and Eric knew each other from the outside. And apparently there's rumors that Nico had a girlfriend, even though he said she was just a, friends with benefits situation. Apparently Mia had a boyfriend on the outside as well. And Mercedes, we all know he's been on 2 other shows before, Love Island. With M, apparently she's also been an extra on another TV show. Somebody had it online. Taylor, apparently he's been on The Summit. So this is why I say it looks like at least 75% of the cast were producer plants. And then you had 1 or 2 who were originals, which I think Sophie, Dylan, and who else can I say? Maybe Hannah and Zanti and Alicia. And I think this is why the other girls were booted out, but then they needed some people to be authentic. The majority of them seemed like they were just putting on performances. But anyway, I digress. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 27. Bye guys.